that's like really interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's fun.
Yeah.
We try and do another kind of thing about is similar to that. I was talking earlier. It's like so the arc of the dance. You know, there's an initial section where we might play a little bit more like, and we do that up front because the caller is establishing the dance and teaching, and we don't really want to be distracting people with the music while they're learning the dance. Otherwise, the caller has to call longer into the dance because people have been catching on. When and sometimes I'll just actually verbally ask the caller, how they doing, they getting this okay. But often I can, kind of watch the caller and watch the crowd myself, and there's a very distinctive moment where sort of a critical mass sort of takes us over, and they're not dancing the dance, they're dancing themselves. They're expressing themselves, and they're into the music. So
that's the thing that that's the part that when we talked about square dancing versus contra dancing, the part that I always love about the contra dance is when you've got that moment where the dance and you're just moving to the music,
right? And
you just flow into the music, and it's just one,
right. But that moment doesn't come if you don't set it up right? Like you're looking for that moment where people are they're not dancing the dance, they're dancing. And that's the cool thing about contra dancing is because like other forms of dance don't need callers and they don't need all this extra gear, right? It's just music and you just dance, and that's cool. I mean, people who can get into that have a great time just dancing, just expressing music with their bodies. I feel like contra dancing really appeals to people with a sense of, with people who respond to a sense of form, that we don't just interpret music completely freely. We need to interpret it within, we need the form of a dance. We need the form of some rules of what we have to do when, and then give us that, and then then we can relax, and then we can express ourselves better. And I think that really that kind of person does really well in a contra dance. And so you're working towards that moment where the dancers know what's going to come next, and they're not concerned about forgetting the move or whatever, and they can just dance straight to the music and nothing else. And so when we're doing our job well, there's a few different things that I have to keep in mind to try and keep that from happening. Sometimes I can't keep it from happening, but dances with very similar A parts and B parts are or for that matter, programming-wise, 3 dances in a row that have the same sequence of moves become very difficult to remember what you've done when. And so the more difficult it is, the more confusing, not confusing, sometimes simple, the more similar these moves all become, the more distinctive the music has to be. So if, like for instance, if you have a dance with a down the hall on A1 and a gypsy and swing on B1, you won't ever confuse those two moves. Mm-hmm. But if you have a dance where it's a lady's chain on A1 and it's a half hay on B1, that can be very confusing, right?
Oh yeah.
Because it's almost exactly the same moves. So for the dance with more distinctive parts, I could just play the same. I could play an identical groove all the way through the tune. I don't even need an A and a B part because the dance has its own A and a B part. For a dance with really, really similar moves, I need to pick music with very distinctive A's and B's, either a key change or a rhythmic change like we were talking about earlier, to let people know that we're on the A part or we're on the B part, that sort of thing.
Well, that's